Remembering Sacagawea. Sacagawea was the daughter of a chieftain and member of the Shoshone Indian tribe. The Shoshones were a small nomadic tribe who traveled throughout Idaho, California, Nevada, Wyoming, Utah, and Montana. The physical and emotional wellness of the tribe and its culture depends greatly on the preservation of the land. They are connected so much with the earth and life around them that much of their sense of self is derived from this connection. They connect humans, animals, and plants, the physical with the spiritual, and the living with the non-living, to create a holistic sense of self. Without land of their own, maintaining their sense of self became very difficult for the Shoshone Indians. They were a peaceful tribe who understood what freedom and respect meant. Their chieftains and other leaders gained power through warfare and supernatural causes. Sacagawea was born in 1788 in Lemhi County, Idaho, and presumably died in 1812. In the 1800s, the U.S. was all about manifest destiny. Expanding and discovering new territories was top priority. 1803, Louisiana Purchase doubled the size of the U.S. 1805, Michigan Territory is established, and 1809, the Illinois Territory was created. But with all this expanding and new discovery, it also meant the displacement and massacre of Indian tribes. Life was not easy for women in the Shoshone tribe. Women faced discrimination because of their gender and were expected to maintain the home and children while the men hunted and protected the tribe. The Shoshone Indians were constantly being attacked by the Datsa Indians. In 1800, they kidnapped Sacagawea and sold her to the Mandan Indians. Sacagawea was enslaved for 4 years before she was won in a gamble by a white French-Canadian fur trader named Toussaint Charbonneau, who forced her to become one of his wives. In 1805, they met and joined Lewis and Clark on their journey to the West. This is where history teaches us about the brave Sacagawea, who without her, Lewis and Clark could have never survived. From navigating treacherous trails to pointing out edible food and being an interpreter for the Indian encounters, Sacagawea did all of this with a baby on her back, and it really seemed like she was one tough woman. Except this is a more accurate depiction of Lewis and Clark's journey. Do you see Sacagawea? That's because she was more of a tool than an asset. Kept away until needed. After losing any type of trust in any man, no matter the skin color, Sacagawea was quiet and submissive. She was used as a symbol of good faith to Indian tribes, that their group wasn't looking for trouble with a mother and baby in the midst. Lewis and Clark were very skilled outdoorsmen and trackers. The rare interpretations was all Sacagawea was used for. In journals of their trek, Lewis and Clark rarely speak of Sacagawea, and if they did, it wasn't by her name. Sacagawea was so insignificant that Clark renamed her Janie, because he liked that name better. So why do we have this image of Sacagawea in our minds? Why does she have the most statues erected than any other woman in the U.S.? We can thank this lady, Ava Emery Dye. Dye was in search of an empowering female to be the symbol for the women's suffrage movement. She wrote a book called The Conquest, which told the true story of Lewis and Clark. And in her story, she painted Sacagawea as a true heroine. The timing was perfect. Women's suffrage organizations knew Sacagawea was an alternative to American patriarchy. Also, with Manifest Destiny being all the rage, citizens would be receiving to a heroine that helped discover America. Suffragettes like Susan B. Anthony began giving praise to Sacagawea in their speeches. In 1905, the first Sacagawea statue was unveiled. In 1907, Grace Hebard decided to take the heroic history of Sacagawea a bit further. She published books that told stories of how she was the reason Lewis and Clark survived. Hebard also traveled to the homelands of Sacagawea and the Shoshone Indians, where she came to the conclusion that Sacagawea didn't die young, but in fact lived to be over 100. No one questioned Herbard's tales about Sacagawea, and over time, the Sacagawea story became part of our culture. From Saturday Night Live to The Simpsons, you could see the character of Sacagawea. And this is why the story of Sacagawea became what most people know today. A story of a girl who was strong, smart, and most of all, a survivor. And some can say that Sacagawea's story might have been embellished, but it did give hope to the women's rights movement. Others might say that Sacagawea had no free will and was part of America's expansion west, which led to the annihilation and displacement of many Indian tribes. Her history is up to you and how you want to remember Sacagawea.